You find yourself surrounded by foul-smelling orcs. What do? You hear a battle cry. Too late! You're under attack! Ah! Hello and welcome to the Friday Fantasy Show from the Bottled Imp.
Exploring the realms of fantasy.
My name is Ken Boyter and today we are looking at Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, it's the Big E. Started way back in the 70s, I think 74, 75. It's still going strong today, but why? This is the starter set. This is what we're looking at and it's the 5th edition. So obviously there's been 4 previous editions. Now we're not going to go into too much detail about this because Dungeons and Dragons is a big game, but what I will say is this is my brother's copy. This is edition 2 and he got that when he was about 14 I think, and he was all excited, and unfortunately we found it very complicated. I'm 4 years younger, so I was 11. I didn't have a clue, but what I did do is I absolutely adored the illustrations. If I can quickly find some, there's a little one there. I absolutely fell in love with the illustrations on here, so I was just looking at the pictures. Let's see if the starter set has made it simpler. Dungeons and Dragons starter set. What exactly is in the box? Well, for your money, you get various bits and pieces. You get pre-made character sheets, which are double-sided. You also get dice. I love dice. And you get a number of dice, and they are obviously different sided. There's a 20-sided, there's a 4-sided, there's a 6-sided dice. You also get the starter set rulebook, which is, as you'd expect, full colour with lovely illustrations in there. Plus you get the first campaign, if you like, a starter campaign, which is Lost Mine of Phandelver. And in there is pretty much everything you need to know about running a campaign. And it's split into 4 parts. Now, what you may also need, well in fact you do need, is a pencil and also an eraser. Preferably one that's joined together on the pencil as well. That's not necessary. That doesn't come in the box, but you do need that because you will be changing your statistics and writing notes and things like that, and maybe drawing maps on your character sheet or on a bit of paper, a bit of scrap paper, or if you want, you can keep a journal of your quests for Dungeons and Dragons. And this is the starter set, and the reason why I think Wizards of the Coast have done this is because Dungeons and Dragons can be overwhelming. As I said in the intro, my brother and I, we tried playing this and it just looked really complicated. There's lots of stats, lots of things to learn, and I think the mistake we made was we were trying to learn it all before we actually played it. What they've done here is they've cut everything down to manageable chunks, manageable information just to play. And what I really enjoyed about this initially when I first read the starter rules was big bold lettering. It's all about having fun. Don't necessarily get too bogged down with the rules. Just keep ploughing on and you'll pick everything up as you go along. And I was a little bit dubious of that, but yes, that's exactly what happens. Because if you look here, this is the full game. This is the player's handbook, and as you can see, it is packed. It's over, what is that, over 300 pages worth of information. There's no way you can possibly read all of that and actually take it all in. Plus, you have a Dungeon Master's Guide as well, and again, it's a big, thick book, over 300 pages, I think. Huge amount of information in there. Nobody's going to absorb all of that straight away. So I think they've done a really clever move here by introducing a starter set, and that is what initially drew me to this, because I'd always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. So what is Dungeons and Dragons? It is a story-based experience. And so it's like improvisation. So if you're an actor, or if you've done anything at school or anything like that, it's improvising a story, but it's got some rules, it's got some constraints in terms of statistics, and you roll dice to determine outcomes. It is cooperative, and there is one person that will DM, that will be the dungeon master. And they facilitate the game, they run the game, and more experienced dungeon masters will create their own campaigns. As I say, this one, they give you one here. So if you've never run a Dungeons and Dragons game like I hadn't, this makes it very, very simple. And so I'll just quickly go through some of the components here. So as I say, what you're doing is, the aim of the game really is to have fun. That's what they want you to have. And you do that by going on campaigns, going on quests. And they can be like little short ones, or they can be big, expansive ones that sort of last months, or sometimes even years, I've been told. And what you do, though, is you need, if you're not playing the starter kit, you need to set up your character. So you'll have a character sheet that's blank, and then you'll be rolling dice to determine various statistics, your strength, your dexterity, all your abilities, that kind of thing. And you'll be choosing your race, you'll be choosing what class you are, if you're a wizard or if you're a rogue. And so there's a lot of information initially that you need to set up to prepare if you want to play. With this, with the starter kit, you get pre-made characters. So you can just jump straight in. They've all done the heavy lifting for you. And there's good explanation in the rulebook of what all of this means. And again, even this amount of information can be a bit overloading. So that's the character sheet. So you've got various things. You've got a background, you could be criminal class, you could be, and then you've got alignment. This one's chaotic good, this one's a wizard, so they have spells. And it's basically, I don't know if you managed to watch the cartoon Dungeons and Dragons, it's that. It's you guys, you and girls going out on an adventure, and you're coming across various things that will attack you, various things that will trick you, various things that will happen to you, and it's just how you deal with it. So it's like an open box world where you can literally do anything. So a bit of gameplay would be that the Dungeon Master basically facilitates the game. So there'll be conditions that he's set up or she's set up. So you might start out in a tavern and you don't know each other, and the Dungeon Master might say, so are you going to introduce yourselves? And then you would just say who you are, and you don't have to reveal everything. It's up to you how you want to play it. And then the Dungeon Master will move things along. And so there'll normally be a particular little quest that you have to do. And then you all decide, right, well, what should we do? Well, yeah, we need to go and find the key that opens the door. That might be the first kind of little objective. And you will then do that, and the Dungeon Master will facilitate, and things will happen along the way. And the Dungeon Master has to do a lot of preparing if they're not doing a campaign that's already pre-made. And the Dungeon Master's role is to then make the experience come alive. And so they're the ones that will be saying what's happening. There'll be ones that will be keeping an eye on everything, like a referee, if you like. And they're the ones that will be, where the dice come in is that when events happen, so say you might be wanting to pick a lock because you haven't got a key, you will then need to do an ability check, and that would be involving, normally it's a D20, and you will then get whatever score it is, and there'll be modifiers. So if you are, sleight of hand or whatever the DM thinks is the appropriate ability, you will add your modifier to that, and if you reach a certain number or over, then you will pass that, and he will then, or she will then explain, yes, you've unpicked that lock, and now what do you want to do? And you would say, well, I want to go through the door, etc., etc. So that is basically what Dungeons and Dragons is. Now, for me, as I say, I pretty much just recently started doing it, and I'm Dungeon Master for one campaign, plus I'm also playing a campaign as a player, so I'm getting both sides of the story, if you like. And equally, I'm enjoying it. As Dungeon Master, even the prepared ones, there's still so much scope. I don't want to show you too much of this because it's obviously secret, and I don't want any spoilers to come out. But there's so much scope. Yes, these ones do lead you through a campaign, but there are what they call non-player characters. So it might be that they go into a tavern, and there might be that you need to create a barman or a barwoman, and you will just make that up on the spot, because it's the players who lead the story, if you like. So they might say, I want to drink 15 gallons of ale, and then you might interact with that as a non-player character, and then you will then try to role play that. Now, obviously, if you're not into role playing in a big way, you don't have to. There's no pressure. It's all about having fun. And so the main aspect of the fun is obviously you're sharing an adventure with friends. Now, obviously, if you know the people that you're playing with, fantastic, and there'll be in-jokes already there, and you'll be, lots of banter flying around. I've joined a local Dungeons & Dragons group, so I didn't know these people, but what I'm finding is you then get to know them, obviously, through the game. Because these campaigns, I think this one's going to last, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 sessions. So I'm getting to know these people, and then in-jokes are starting to form, and so that is where the beauty of the game comes alive, because it's basically a bunch of mates who are having fun through an adventure. So you're reliving, adventures together. So obviously you could start doing lots of campaigns, years and years and years, with the same character, because you do level up, you gain experience points for the more things you do. And when you level up, you're obviously going to be gaining more abilities. You're going to be gaining more health, for example, or hit points. You'll be gaining more items that you can use, more spells to cast. So it's actually one of these games that you really invest in. And when I've been playing, both as DM and as the player, you really feel like you're in that environment. So then when you stop, you're like, oh, okay, real life, here we go. And it really reminded me, I don't know if you've played Skyrim or anything where you are an adventurer going on a quest. It's open box, so literally you can try to do anything you like. And that is pretty much Dungeons & Dragons. It's not something to be frightened of, it looks too complicated. Yes, there are quite a lot of rules, but the great thing about the starter set, as I say, is that it does say, don't be put off by all these rules. We will give you the basics. And what I did is there was a few basic rules that I even ignored, because I thought, are the players I'm playing with, is it too much information? So I kind of made a decision on the fly to modify it even then. But that didn't spoil the game, it was still enjoyable. I totally recommend Dungeons & Dragons, the starter set. If you've ever wanted to get into it, or you've never come across it before, the starter set is exactly the place to go. And then, like me, you get a taste for it, and then you kind of think, I want to know more about it. I do want to learn the finer details. And it really is. There's so much depth in here. It's like reading a real epic novel. You're fully immersed. And the people that create these have got brilliant imagination. So check out the starter set for Dungeons & Dragons. You'll have so much fun. I promise. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition starter set. Great idea. Absolutely love it. It's very accessible. And that, to me, is the key feature of this, because I thought it was really complicated, the full game, but now I'm not scared of it anymore. I can play this and enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed that little overview. And remember, we do have other board games and card game reviews, and also we've got fantasy film reviews and book reviews and so much more. So keep watching, keep spreading the word of the Bottled Imp. Until next time, remember, keep it unreal, especially if you're fighting a dragon. Can I stop now?